Okay, I'd like to extend a very warm FrightFest welcome to Paul Davis.
Thank you very much, sir.
And you're back this year with another short film, The Body.
I am indeed.
Just tell us a little bit about the plot for this one.
The Body is about a murderer who uses the cover of Halloween Night to dispose of his latest victim. So literally he just kind of wraps the body up in tarpaulin and drags it through the street with the intention that people would just think it's a Halloween costume. And that is exactly what happens, but he bumps into an old school friend, and what he doesn't count on is the fact that they kind of twist his arm into coming for a drink, so he has to bring the body with him. So the story is essentially what then happens in that situation and how he deals with it.
And how long did it take you to develop the script?
It's actually the first job that I've been hired to make.
Okay.
Although I've got a co-writing credit on it, all I really did was I was sent the script late September, so we were still very much doing the rounds with him indoors, and it was the producer and writer of the screenplay, Paul Fisher, saw him indoors at FrightFest, and he had this like very kind of pitch black comedy idea. And he sent me the script, and I loved the concept of the killer that just doesn't give a shit, and is using his intelligence or what he believes to be his intelligence to kind of get the body from A to B. But the script that I was sent, it was like 21 pages, and there were 14 characters in it. There was a scene at a fairground. The producer said, "Oh, I want to do this in 3 days for $7,000," and I laughed at that. I just said, look, I think it's really great, but I just think what you've got is a little bit too ambitious. So I'd say at the very least we have a 5-day schedule, at the very least a $10,000 budget, which another luxury was that the money was there when I was hired, so it was completely fully funded, which never happens. So I just did a very, very swift rewrite on the last act, just to kind of give it a bit of punch at the end of the story and kind of give it a payoff. Because I kind of felt that although there is a lot of ambiguity in the story, and that's one of the things that I loved about it, on the one night of the year where everybody is pretending to be someone else, I kind of wanted to use that as like a cover for the entire movie, so you're never really sure about who's genuine and who's putting on a bit of a performance, especially with the lead character played by Alfie Allen. So I just kind of wanted to keep the ambiguity there, but give it a definitive payoff at the end. That was literally, I got the script September, the rewrite was early October, and then we were shooting by mid-November. So it was a very quick pre-production for something that, compared to him indoors, which was a 6-week entirely from start to finish. It was nice to have a little bit longer on a pre-production, but again, it wasn't entirely long, especially for the scale in which we were going for with this.
And you seem to be really lucky with your actors. Obviously, you mentioned Alfie Allen, but you've also got Hannah Toynton and Jack Gordon, who people will recognise. How was the casting process?
Well, it was interesting. When I first started talking to Paul Fisher about these characters, I envisioned them being a little bit older, like kind of mid to late 30s kind of thing. And the first actor that I actually approached for the lead of the murderer was Mark Gatiss. Because I kind of wanted to do, I'm going to work with another League member now. And I'm a huge fan of Mark's, and he actually was keen to do it, but he was in the final week of a show that he was doing on the West End, so he couldn't commit to it. And then I think we approached Sean Evans from Prometheus, but he was filming The Borgias for HBO, and then I saw a picture of. I think by this point it had to be a psychotic looking ginger guy. That was kind of that was the look that I was going for, and I saw a picture of Alfie Allen in a suit, and I was like, hey, he looks psychotic, so why not just make the characters a little bit younger? And I think I always liked the idea of Hannah's character being Hannah, which then, if the rest of the characters were older, it would have made that relationship that they kind of strike up a little bit more odd, which I would have liked. But it works perfectly fine the way they are in the movie. But originally they were older characters. But then once we decided that we were going to make them younger, Alfie was number one. It was our number one choice, and he really liked the script. And we just went. We cast this the old-fashioned way. We went to agents. These are our shooting dates. This is how much money we have, and thankfully, everybody that we went for was available. So.
Yeah, I think Alfie's fantastic. I love his kind of really controlled, measured, sort of calculating performance. Did you want him to be very kind of calm rather than a real kind of fun?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, what you see Alfie do in the movie is exactly what I asked him to do. He's phenomenal at taking direction.
Yeah.
I mean, even like the slightest thing that I want him to change, when we did another take, he nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when he was looking at the script, I mean, he hasn't got a lot of dialogue at all.
Yeah.
But he's doing a lot more than you would actually think that he's actually doing. Because again, it comes to that whole the facades and the ambiguity of who's putting on a performance and who isn't. So I asked him to play a character who might be playing a character. And you do actually kind of see two different sides to him in the film. Like you see the professional side and you see the off the clock side, which I thought was really cool, and he's a completely different character. And thankfully, going into this, I'd only seen season 1 of Game of Thrones by this point, so I didn't know how much of an arsehole Theon Greyjoy goes on to be. So when I was asking Alfie to kind of channel some of that, be a dickhead would be my direction. There was no Theon in there, or even if there was, I wouldn't identify with that. And I've since now caught up on Game of Thrones up to season 3, and it makes me appreciate his performance in the body so much more. Yeah, because it's completely different to anything else that he's done. So I think he's wonderful in it. And again, Hannah Toynton, I mean, there's a lovely ambiguity to her character as well, because we intended to shoot a lot more with her, but for the running time we had to kind of keep it down. But now that she's not in it as much, it raises more questions about her character, and I like that. I like that the film raises more questions than it answers them, but that's the intention. The movie is not about who the body is or what happens after. The story is this guy has got a body that he needs to get rid of. That's the story. So it's from getting the body from A to B. Anything that happens after that or before that, hey, that's for you to decide.
So when you were shooting on location with the body, did you have any issues?
Not at all. If anything, it just strengthened the mood that because there are takes in the movie where you see people driving past and they're kind of like looking, which was great, because that's the reaction that we wanted from the characters. So when you've got people doing that for free,
nobody called the police or anything.
No. If anything, we actually give a credit to the prosthetic body, right? And he got the nickname of Pat on the set. Because that's all everybody wanted to do was come up and pat the body. Isn't it real? No, it's not real. So he gets his own credit at the end of the movie. He was a professional. He's been in more movies than Christopher Lee. That guy. He's based out of Elstree. He's had a very healthy career. I'm sure if someone did an IMDb page for him, you'd be there for days counting all the movies that he's been in. So he was the biggest celebrity on the set.
Oh right.
He had his own trailer.
So it's a much more ambitious shoot than. Him indoors. Did you find, bearing in mind this is your second shot, was it an easier or more difficult experience?
It was certainly more of a challenge. Yeah. And I mean, on the first day of shooting, I was working with a crew of 80 people. Wow. And we had 70 extras. So going from a short where I had 2 actors in a room, to go to that was very daunting. But once we kind of got into the flow of it, I mean, because I had a lot of the same crew around me that I had on Him Indoors, who do this stuff day in day out. So there wasn't any point where I fell out of my depth. It was kind of like, you know what, you're here now, get on with it. So by the time we sailed through. For me, like if Him Indoors was like my first year of film school, the body was definitely year 2, and I relished the experience, and I can't wait to kind of take that a step further because it wasn't. We didn't treat it like a short because we had a feature crew for a week. That was the thing, because my DOP and his entire camera crew were on a feature.
Yeah.
But we'd already booked him for this, so his feature that he was on stopped production for a week so that he'd come and do this. So he brought his entire crew and their equipment with us. So, you know, we had a full lighting rig. We had, you know, cranes and all kinds of stuff.
It definitely has that feature film. I mean, is there anything there that you would expand and take his character forward into a feature?
Well,
because
you'd be surprised, because we cut a lot out.
Right. Okay.
So there's definitely scope to stretch it.
Yeah.
I have mentioned it to the producer Paul Fisher, who originated the script, but I don't think he really has the interest to develop it. It's something, you know, I kind of like to see where the character would go.
Yeah, definitely.
But even when I first showed the film to Paul McAvoy, because I was so nervous showing him, because it was a rough cut, and he didn't make it easier by saying, "Should I put on a shit film first just to make you feel better?" I was like, "Thanks, Paul." And then, like, as soon as the end credits rolled, he was like high-fiving me, so I know I'd done something right. But yeah, the first thing he said to me was like, "Why is that not a feature?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just hired to make it. But no, we wanted to make something big. You know, I wanted to make something visual. As I said, with him indoors, it was 2 people in a room, you know, carrying out just doing what they do best. Yeah. With this, I wanted lots of camera movement, and I wanted to let the shots really nice. Breathe. Really, really long shots. I don't like epileptic editing, you know. So there are a lot of kind of long takes in there, which I really like doing.
The opening shot, which I think is fantastic. How many takes did you have to do to get that one how you wanted it?
That's an interesting. That's the when people that have seen it, the 2 questions I get asked are how many takes, and was it inspired by the opening shot of Halloween? The answer is 6. We had the flat that we were shooting in actually had a hidden hi-fi. And in the 4 corners of every room were speakers in the ceiling. So we put on Swan Lake, so it was playing throughout the entire house, so that the Steadicam op could hit his mark at the correct moment. So that was literally just it. It was doing complete run-throughs just so that he got the turn right on the. So that could have taken a lot longer had we not had that luxury, subconsciously probably inspired by the opening of Halloween, but I wasn't thinking that at the time. It wasn't until it was brought up that I was like, oh wait, maybe it was, you know. So and other people that were working on the movie who have been around and I've been asked that have done the same thing. It's like, oh yeah. So
okay. The Halloween setting is fantastic, and I love the kind of the Halloween costumes. Did you pick out Jack Gordon's Herbert West?
Oh yeah.
Question?
Oh yeah. I think that was the first thing I did when I was given permission to do a draft of the script. I was like, well, he's Herbert West, so I put that in there. There are I tried to really curb the references in this, although I'd like to refer to what we put in the body more as Easter eggs, right? So that fans will get that extra from it, but it's not going to be lost on anybody that doesn't know these little nods. I mean, because there are loads in there that even genre fans haven't picked up on, like the 2 guys who meet them at meet him at the traffic lights. Yeah. The guy who's in the grey hoodie and the face paint, he's dressed as Elliot from E.T. as the Hunchback. Right. And there's I even put 2 people dressed as Reece Shearsmith and Pollyanna McIntosh from Him Indoors in the party sequence as well, because we kept the costumes. So they're in there as well. Paul McAvoy's dancing in the background as well somewhere. But yeah, I mean, there's one gag. There's one little reference in there that I kind of put, because one of the reviews I got on Him Indoors was like, we liked it, but we get it, you like horror movies. Yeah. So like the very last gag in the movie is a reference to the Cannonball Run. So I was like, I also like comedies, bad comedies at that. So yeah, but again, everything that I put in there, if you're going to put references in a movie, they should never take you out of the story. Yeah. Story first.
Yeah. So after the FrightFest screening, what's the plan for The Body next?
We're taking it to Fantastic Fest, which I'm very excited about, because I've heard that that's, again, like FrightFest, it's one that you need to experience. So I'm very excited about that. I think we've got another 10 festivals locked after this, which we didn't have last year. I mean, with him indoors, it was like we were playing FrightFest and we didn't know what came next.
Sure.
But this has been insane, absolutely insane, because it was a movie as to, again, the length, because it's 19 minutes long, and I tried so hard to get it down to 15, but it's got to that point in the end, because I was very ruthless in the edit. I mean, we cut like 3 or 4 minutes on like the first day that never went back in. It was a whole sequence of when he comes out, you actually see him taking the body out of the flat, and all this kind of thing, like the lift is taking forever, so he throws it down the stairs, little stuff like that. But no, it wasn't until I saw it with an audience that I thought, okay, maybe this will work. I say an audience, like 6 people, but the music is another thing that really kind of sold it for me. When we got Ozzy Miso's score back for the first time, and I heard what he'd done with that, because originally we were going to license a couple of pop tracks, like Charmless Man by Blur was going to be on the end credits and stuff like that, and we'd already kind of nothing was signed, but we'd already inquired into doing the deal, and it looked like it was going to happen. And then we got the score back, and it's like, you know what, we don't need to do any of that. This is fantastic. So it was when I saw that, there were a couple of moments in the film that I didn't like, but when I saw it with the music, I was like, you saved it.
So what's next for you? When are we going to see your first feature?
Hopefully very, very soon. I'm currently working, I'm attached to 2 features at the moment. One of them is an anthology, which is in the wake of the success of like ABCs of Death and VHS. We kind of got together, and it's Paul Fisher who produced this, is producing this anthology as well. And we kind of wanted to go back to Amicus, the best of British kind of thing. So it's going to be 4 British directors, and I'm going to be the newbie, so to speak. And I'm currently co-writing a project for AV Pictures, which may or may not take me back into the werewolf realm. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay, well, keep our fingers crossed on both of those projects.
Thank you very much.
Wish you all the very best with The Body.
Thank you.
Paul Davis, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Phil. Thank you.